sir.
Can I have everyone? Can I have everyone's attention? Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're getting ready to get started. And we appreciate everyone being here today. My name is Anthony Davis. I'm the president of the local branch here in Kenosha for the NAACP. With me are appointed and elected officials. I just want to recognize a few. We have our senators from the state of Wisconsin, Senator Lena Taylor and Senator Wirtz from our area. We have Congresswoman Moore. She's here also. Our mayor, John Antaramian. Also, the alderman from the district where things happen, Anthony Kennedy. Now, also from our state assembly, we have Assemblyman Todd Onstad here with us today also. I meant to say state assemblyman. I already mentioned Senator Taylor already. And we have folks here from our school board, Yolanda Santos Adams. And if I missed anyone, so I'm going to get started with my comments. And after I get finished with my comments, our state Congress president, from Wisconsin, Wendell Taylor, will proceed with the rest of the program. Wendell Harris. You had to excuse me. Kenosha, Wisconsin. It is with tremendous heaviness in my heart that I speak on the terms of the event that occurred Sunday at 2805 40th Street in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The Kenosha NAACP joined the Congress of community members and organizations who are committed to finding solutions and resolutions and meeting with the Kenosha Police Department, the District Attorney, and the Police and Fire Commission in that regard. Without any additional information or investigative facts, the Kenosha Police Department seems to have engaged in lethal force in shooting of Jacob Blake. To add insult to the injury, Blake being gunned down has turned him into a spectacle. The Kenosha community is grieving as a result of this tragic shooting, but also we grieve for what seems to be the loss of civility in Kenosha. Regardless who called the police, we are entitled to civility, respect, and dignity as citizens of Wisconsin and the United States. When all of us contact terror, we are desperate for relief, not an ever-enduring grief. But in most tragic ways, we are finding ourselves with police authorities who seem more concerned with ammunition and escalation. Those who have been ordained with the privilege to act under the color of law continue to disappoint the communities that we are serving. And our police must be held to a greater standard and accountability in this tragedy. Now, more than ever, we are here in Kenosha with a tremendous duty to ensure safety of all Kenosha citizens. In the intent of securing our better days, we ask everyone to join together. Stay calm, stay collected. I understand protesting. The NAACP has been a leader and supporter of protesting since its founding in 1909. The looting and destruction that has been taking place during these past few days, we do not support. but we would rather see the protests done in a peaceful and boisterous manner. Our communities must lead the change in reconciliation and togetherness. We must not let this tragedy take away from the greatness that is in our hearts. That concludes my comments. I turn you over to our state conference president, President Wendell Harris.
Thank you, Anthony. Give it up for Anthony. Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Wisconsin Conference of Branches NAACP, Derek Johnson, our CEO, and the entire board of directors of the NAACP in Wisconsin and our national board, I'm honored to come before you this morning hosting the Right Reverend Jesse Jackson in Wisconsin today to help us carry out this press conference and to make it what it should be. Let the world hear every word that we say today. I'm going to read you a brief message from our president, a message from President Johnson that all of us in the NAACP, we speak with one voice, and this message says, Derek Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP, the appalling and heinous shooting of Jacob Blake is yet another stark reminder of the free will atrocities committed against black people at the hands of those entrusted to maintain public safety. The recent shooting comes on the heels of the civil unrest that has caused the world to take heed to the long-standing pandemic of systematic racism and injustice. The unfortunate and sobering reality is that black men and women are under perpetual fear of having their lives taken from them at any given moment while engaging with police officers. In a country where the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness emphasizes undeniable rights, Jacob Blake is another prime example of a succession of individuals that the promise of this nation ring hollow for far too many minorities. At this moment, the work of the American people is clear and unquestionable. We must continue to fight, organize, and mobilize against police brutality. While the victims and the state sanctioned killings at the hands of law enforcement, while the visions of Jacob Blake, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and countless others play over and over in our minds, we must not grow weary until we've achieved police liberty and substantive change is realized. If there was ever a time for us to unite against a common threat to the existence of black people is now. Our thoughts and prayers with Jacob Blake and his family and friends as he continued to fight for his life and the return of his children. Again, thank you all for taking a moment to hear what I have to say on behalf of the NAACP. And we're going to take care of a couple of housekeeping things before I step down. I'm going to be facilitating this conversation. And when I give you that look, everybody but the Reverend Dr. Jesse Jackson, I want you to step away from the mic because we have to expedite this in a timely manner because there are some other things going on in Wisconsin with Dr. Jackson today that all of Wisconsin want to hear. So thank you all for being here, and the NAACP is with you, but we will not rest until criminal justice policies are changed in the state of Wisconsin and that we all have our freedom and rights. Thank you. Thank you. The next person on the agenda is the good Dr. Reverend Jackson's national spokesperson, Mr. Bishop Travis Grant. Thank you, Doctor.
I am Bishop Tavis Grant, Tavisgrant. I'm the National Field Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition, who has offices in 25 cities across the country. We're here today because we've had enough. This week marks 4 years where Colin Kaepernick began his crusade to strike a chord with the conscience of America that racism is a virus that we have no vaccine for.
That's right.
If we were to address racism like we address terrorism, racist individuals with racist rhetoric would be much more reluctant and have greater hindrances than being out in the open and in plain sight as the 17-year-old shooter was. Had Jacob Blake been a 17-year-old black male with a loaded weapon, he would not be alive today. It is only by the grace of God that he is alive, and we offer our national and international prayers for he and his family. Why is it that from LeBron James to Stephon Curry to football players, tennis players, athletes of all walks are now boycotting and joining this cause to strike the nerve of conscience in America? I want to play for you, just briefly, a reason why this incipient racism, the racism that is in every institution of America. There's an economic gap, a financial gap, a health gap. We've had enough. And one of the persons, as an icon, as a servant, as a lieutenant of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for over 50 years, he's marched across America asking us to keep hope alive. We now welcome the Right Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson.
Yay!
Express my thanks to the NAACP for hosting this conference today. Congresswoman Gwen Moore from this area, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Senator Lena Taylor. I want to play a tape for you first to show you the climate that we're dealing with here in Wisconsin, particularly in this area. Bishop.
Excuse me, Reverend, one moment. If we cannot have other press conferences while we have a press conference, it would be much appreciated. Go ahead, Reverend.
This is the voice of the sheriff. This area. This is the climate center. Bill.
We can't turn it up.
No, it's a
What's the mic?
These people have to be warehoused for recreational time in the jails. We put them away. We put them away for the rest of their lives so that the rest of us can be better. And society has to come to a threshold where there's some people that aren't worth saving. We need to build warehouses for these people. Put them away for the rest of their lives. Let's put them in jail. Let's stop them from truly, at least some of these males, going out and getting 10 other women pregnant and having small children. Let's put them away. At some point, we have to stop being politically correct. I don't care what race, I don't care who they are. If there's a threshold that they cross, these people have to be warehoused. No recreational time in the jails. We put them away. We put them away for the rest of their lives so that the rest of us can be better.
Bishop, how can the press link to this? They couldn't hear this well. Here is the sheriff speaking of warehousing people, putting them with the rest of their lives in this anti-protest season. How can they link to this?
part of our challenge is both with the patronizing of the police chief of the 17-year-old. There was no reason for a 17-year-old to carry a loaded weapon to try to preserve peace in the city of Kenosha. You had city police, you had county police, you had 1,000 National Guard. You had more than enough security in the city to do the job of law enforcement. These individuals are linked. Militias are part of the racism problem. Koinon is a part of the racism problem, and institutional racism. You can go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and retrieve this recording of the sheriff saying we need to build warehouses for these people. He's using this dog and whistle. These people. We are not these people. We are black people, and Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives
want to express my thanks to leadership gathered here today. Athletes who stood up. I think LeBron James deserved a Nobel Prize.
Yes.
Standing up in Trayvon case in Miami. Standing up, building a school in Ohio. For Breonna Taylor, he deserves. He's changed the culture of athletes in America today. I want to make this point clear. There's a pattern of killing black people. When Roof killed 9 black people in church in Charleston, South Carolina, police took him to get a hamburger before taking him to jail. He walked away. The killer walked away free. When George Floyd was killed in Minnesota, the killer went home that night. The prosecutor said nothing could happen. The next day when Keith got the case, first time in history of Minnesota black police have been indicted for killing a black. Breonna Taylor, the killer in Kentucky, still walks free today. The killer of Jacob, sent home, the shooter, walked free today. The fact of the matter is, the prosecutor said in Minnesota they could not find a case against the killer of George Floyd. Keith Ellison, as Attorney General, moved quickly, indicted them. Now they're guilty to be proven innocent because of the horrendous killing. The burden upon the state's attorney in this state, Attorney General, to move and move quickly. We must know that justice works for the people. Second, I want to make this concern that shot in the back 7 times.
7 times.
No, just in front of his children. No justification. When Laquan McDonald was killed in Chicago, covered up the tape. 400 days, 16 shots. The line said he approached him with a knife. I'm sure he shot him in the back. 16. Paid $5 million for cover up, and it didn't work. Well, Laquan McDonald, Breonna Taylor, Jacob here in Wisconsin, pattern. We demand justice from the country. There's a kind of moral desert at the top. This year, today, 57 years, I was in Washington, D.C. Just left jail in Greensboro, North Carolina, trying to use a public restaurant. The president had a little power, but he had aspirations for justice and decency. Today, there's a moral desert, top down. Acid rain is coming top down. When Dr. King gave a speech in Washington in John Lewis, 1963, only one black official in the whole South, Leroy Johnson from Atlanta, Georgia. Texas to Florida to Maryland, we couldn't use a single public toilet. Couldn't buy ice cream with Howard Johnson. Couldn't in the room at Holiday Inn. We lived in tyranny. Black and brown, so sat behind Nazi prisoners of war on American military bases. 57 years later, there's something more sinister. Case of Minnesota, Wisconsin, up south. Something's going awry. President Trump said in a speech in Chicago, if you protesters violate them, I'll pay the bill. It's a signal. Lock them up in the paddy wagon, put them in the truck, and hurt their heads. It's all right with me. That climate, top down, a kind of moral desert, hurts all of America. In some sense, here in Wisconsin, the burden is upon the white church and white citizens. It's not to be swept with a clean brush. More whites here, more white ministers should be here. Because this policeman who killed, who shot Jacob, 7 times in the back, 7 times in the back, 7 times in the back. There was no threat to them. The investigation should be, and the 2 who watched it, they should be indicted as well.
That's right.
Because if Jacob had shot the police 7 times, he couldn't have gone home that night.
Come on, sir.
We need police, but not above the law.
Right.
Be fair, be honest. So in some real sense. And then the young man, 17 years old, his home training says that he has the right to run down the street with a loaded weapon.
What you say?
Now, Jacob had no weapon. Anyone could see. Shot. He ran the street with a rifle, killed 2 people. Run right down the street and please give him a bottle of water. We deserve better than this. We must protest until the 3 of them have been indicted,
Convicted and prosecuted.
indicted,
Prosecuted and
being convicted, and prosecuted, and then indicted first. They must not sleep at home at night in comfort. The white neighbors must not be sanctuaries for killers. Charleston, South Carolina, or St. Louis, or Louisiana last week, white must not be sanctuary for killers. We deserve better than this.
Yes, sir.
America must be America for all of us. Fought enough wars, paid enough taxes, we deserve equal protection on the law. We're not getting it. So I want to open up now. I want to get the athletes. In real sense, they fulfill divine prophecy. They refuse to play ball. They choose emancipation over entertainment. David in the Bible, Samson, they chose entertainment over emancipation over entertainment. They fought for people, not just for a match. When Jack Johnson stood up and fought back, time when blacks were untouchables, the riots after the fight. That's just the ones why when you ran the race, Hitler walked away. He said, well, I came back home and Roosevelt didn't shake my hand either. Kurt Flood, athlete.
Come on.
From the Sentinel from St. Louis to New York. So it can't be sold. He lost his baseball career. Every American has free agency today because of Kurt Flood.
Free agents.
He refused to be a slave.
That's right.
Same is true with basketball player who refused to accept the idea he couldn't play until his time was up. When these athletes stand up, we commend them, we stand with them. I want America to be America for all of its people today. What a great moment to be alive in many ways. I would say to the citizens of this area, be nonviolent and disciplined. Not because we're scared, but because we're smart. They want to use the riots as commercials for this president. We're not letting them use the fires as commercials. Following the Nixon surrender in 1968. In 1968, Nixon said, if I become president, I'll stop it. This is happening under Trump today. Americans need better and deserve better leadership. We must end the moral desert on the media asks questions now. Mr. Harris, thank you, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Reverend Jackson, will Operation and NAACP help the 2 people who were killed? One of them was my bodyguard as we peaceful protest that was killed out here by these white malicious groups. The family had no money to put him away. Can we get a donation from y'all to donate to that family to bury these people?
We will work together.
One got a GoFundMe page. The only one. Only one. But since they want to come out here and talk about it, we haven't seen you out here at none of our protests. Since day one, I've been out here every day. The NAACP,
we got you.
Step right over
That's
there.
Reverend Jackson. I have to take over here.
Shut up, I live out here.
Okay, at this point, I'm gonna ask the media to any questions for Reverend Jackson because Reverend Jackson deserves to get out of this heat.
Oh, man, wasn't the question?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir,
got you. We got you.
brother.
We got you.
Questions from the media?
From the media,
Any
please.
And
questions?
you know me, Judge.
Any questions from the media?
I am the media. I'm recording for Black Lives Matter.
You got your question, sir. We answered it. We got
You
your
didn't
back.
answer it.
We will help raise the money to bury them with dignity.
That's what I wanted was a commitment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Now, will
Reverend
the
Jackson.
NAACP do a commitment?
Yeah, they will.
I'm with. We together.
No, I know I'm with. Will the NAACP
Yeah, certainly. We
do a
commit to
commitment?
help you.
Thank you.
Do what you need to do,
need
Reverend
your own
Jackson.
press
Thank you for
conference.
being here. I'm going to ask the mayor. Who got a question? Okay, go ahead, Dr. Reverend Jackson got a question.
Media.
Media, yeah.
Get your own press conference.
Media?
You need more than that.
Media? No questions, Doc.
I really hope that the three men who killed, or who shot and killed Jacobs, they shot him, attempted murder, should be in jail until he can walk. He should be in jail until he can walk. Second, the young man who killed the two. I want Congresswoman Moore to speak and Senator Lena Taylor.
No, just a minute. Excuse me. One moment, please. The mayor of this fine city has graced us with his city. And we just want to hear from our mayor, followed by the mayor of this city will be Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Senator Lena Taylor.
I'm going to defer to my colleague who is the senator in this area, Senator Work.
Okay, in that order. And when that is done, we'll get back to the agenda as it was written. Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Well, I want to thank Reverend Jackson for coming again. It's been a long time since two of us have chatted, so many years ago. So I do wish to welcome him to Kenosha, and I also want to welcome my old friend Gwen Moore, who served with me in the legislature many years ago. Well, not a few years ago, maybe it was. I just want to say to everyone here that the city is more than willing and will be working with the NAACP, LULAC, and other minority communities to work together to try to solve systemic racism in our community. It's not going to be quick, but we will begin that process. The clergy will be joining us, and we are going to make sure that in the future we have a community that is safe for all individuals. So with that, Reverend Jackson, thank you so much for coming.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
Mr. Mayor.
What does that entail? Keep your eyes on the prize. What does that entail? Let us not get distracted by the effort for them to turn us all around. I just want to remember in southeastern Wisconsin, I was born right down the road in Racine on Lake Michigan. You know, we had the leadership in defying the fugitive slave order. This is a state that is capable of understanding that we're all brothers and sisters. So like Julia Jackson, I just urge you and our late great John Lewis, keep your eye on the prize, y'all, and let's stick together.
Thank you, Congresswoman Gwen Moore. There was a question for the mayor. Following the question being answered, Mr. Mayor, will you answer this gentleman's question? Please come forward. I need anyone that's not speaking to just take a step back.
Very quickly. What are we doing? Yes. We have a number of months ago, the city already had started working with the clergy in the city on dealing with how we were going to deal with racism and how we were going to start dealing with some of the problems that we're facing. Those meetings have been going on now for, as I said, at least 2 months, if not longer. And in fact, what we have been doing is putting together how we were going to do it, committees being put together to deal with it, and having groups basically using clergy and other leaders in the community to take charge of that concept. We're also working with the Department of Justice and looking at in the future having some meetings that will occur at churches, having people come in and talking about what we need to do. The Department of Justice is going to help us to incorporate those type of things. So those are just the things that are starting to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we didn't have, in 63, we didn't have the right to vote. The 60-day countdown now to ending the moral desert, making flowers bloom in the desert again in our country. As the rain's coming top down, there's a sense that it's permitted for Americans to violate Americans. We deserve better than that. We're going to march, we're going to protest in nonviolent discipline, big numbers. These 3 men in jail, and the young man who shot the 2 men. We challenge the white church, the white people, a little bit of sanctuary for these killers.
Thank you, Doc. The next person is Senator Wilkes, the senator for this district, Bob Works. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Senator Wirch, and I'm a history major, and like Gwen said, one of my heroes was John Lewis. John Lewis, may he rest in peace, set an example for all of us. And I like to keep it simple. Pray for peace, work for justice. That's what we have to do in this community. We don't want left-wing violence. We don't want right-wing violence. We want peaceful demonstrations, and by God, we want change.
Yes, thank you.
Now, what have we been doing? I've been working with Senator Taylor for criminal justice reform in this state. We need to do that. It is shameful that we have 25,000 people in our prisons versus Minnesota has what, 6,000 or something like that? We have to change the criminal justice system, mass incarceration, and we can start by a special session in Madison, and by God, we follow it up by voting in November for permanent change. That's how we change things in this state, and thank you for Senator Taylor for referring to me.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Taylor and Senator Wirtz, you will receive the NAACP's plan for criminal justice reform today. We have a plan in place, and I'm expecting my senator to move it forward. Thank you. You hang around. I need you to say something before we leave.
Yes, sir.
We're going to now go to Dr. Darnell Williams, administrator of the Wisconsin Darrell Williams, the Wisconsin Emergency Management. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for being here. My name is Dr. Darrell Williams, and I'm the administrator for Wisconsin Emergency Management for the state of Wisconsin. Let me just start by saying to this community, we're asking of this entire community to stand strong, as tough times don't last, but tough people do. I also want to give my most heartfelt sympathy to the family of Jacob Blake and his entire family. In my role as administrator for Wisconsin Emergency Management, usually I come to communities and try to help them recover after a storm or a flood. But that's not the reason why we're here today. We're here today because there's a community that's hurting. And I want this community to know that we are going to do everything that we possibly can to help this community heal and recover after these events. Let me just tell you, we like you are also saddened by the additional 2 deaths that happened. We do not want to see any more deaths on the streets of Kenosha. We know that the people here inside this community want peace, but we also know that they want change. We know that they want real change that's going to make lives a lot better for all people, but especially those people of color. We also know that Black lives matter.
Right.
And we also know that all lives cannot matter until Black lives are a part of the all. We support a peaceful protest, but we also know that when there are people dying in the streets during those protests, that's not peaceful. We cannot change the current system with the same mindset that created it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that unrest stems from the voices of the unheard. Let me assure this community that your voices have definitely been heard. Now is the time for all of us. The challenge is for all of us to focus our efforts in a more positive direction. We can only achieve the change by working together. Together we can, and together we will rebuild Kenosha. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Is Dr. Ramel Smith here? Dr. Ramel Smith is going to talk to us about the effect of trauma that is happening in our communities, and especially what happened to those 3 children that were in that van just the other day when the other gentleman was shot. Dr. Smith.
My name is Kweku Smith, K-W-E-K-U Smith. I'm a licensed psychologist. Back in February, I was here at Carthage College to talk about trauma and wellness. We wanted to look at it from a proactive standpoint to see what we could do. But what we see all of the time within trauma is three things. For trauma to happen, it has to be an event that's life-perailing, that's life-causing, that causes some type of harm or ill to your life. But then afterwards, there's some type of avoidance of the things that cause that trauma. And then there's intrusions that come upon you. And when we look upon that, what we have to recognize is that what these young children have to deal with is three different types of trauma. It's a historical trauma that every black person, every indigenous person has to deal with in this land. It's the DNA and our cellular DNA, the trauma that our ancestors had that we have every day. Now you put that with the current trauma, with everything that's going on. These young children might not be able to articulate it, but they will show it in their behavior. And later you will demonize them for manifesting that pain because of the trauma that created it. But there's something that we don't talk about, and that's what we call anticipatory trauma. And in anticipatory trauma, that's when every black mom is afraid to let her baby go to school at night, to let her son worry if he's coming home, worried about what's going to happen. See, I'm not just here because I'm a licensed psychologist. I'm not just here because I'm the past team psychologist for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm also here because I'm a black man. And all of us have had some type of trauma. So when you see every athlete stand up, they're more than athletes. When you see every reverend, when you see every community member, they're not just talking about stuff that they see. We can talk about the plates, the Trayvon Martin, the Tamir Rices, but we're also talking from a personal knowledge. We've all been traumatized, and every time something like this happens, we're all traumatized. And so you want to talk about the riots, the rebellions. I didn't see anybody talking about the Boston Tea Party, the Green Mountain Boys, the Sons of Liberty, when they were trying to get their independence. So whatever they want to do, what you better be hoping for is that they did what the NBA did, and that the violence comes, but it comes in an economic revolution, because that's the true trauma, the income inequality that pervades this whole society. So when you think about what's coming, it could be a physical violence, or the violence can come in a different way, as I said, from an economic withdrawal that allows us to be able to all have that chance of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we don't deal with this trauma, it's going to come back and it's going to bite us.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Next person I'm going to ask to come forward is my number one ally in the state of Wisconsin when it comes to NAACP work is the first vice president of the Wisconsin Conference of Branches. I would ask him to come forward and just share a few words. We are an organization that grow our leadership, and it's time for our first vice president to step forward in this meeting.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning. We meet on this fine day with heavy hearts. And I just want to bring a few notes about the NAACP Wisconsin's approach to the future. I have old eyes, so I have to put these glasses on whenever I try to read, and so forth. So bear with me. I'll be brief, but I will be specific. The NAACP Wisconsin today commits to the following agenda. Today, we look to help Kenosha heal, grow, and prosper. Focus on that last word. We believe out of this moment will come prosperity. We want to lead that movement. We want to be a part of the partnership that makes it happen. We will stand with the people of Kenosha as we've stood with black people since 1909. We will raise our level of advocacy with the appropriate state of Wisconsin, local government leaders and organizations in the following areas. We want to address and highlight the inequalities of black lives. We're going to start with police reform legislation. We're going to get behind that. We're going to push it. It's going to make a difference in terms of who gets in and out the door of our police department. Followed by mass incarceration. So glad Senator Works mentioned that. It's still a fundamental problem in our community. Economic development next, housing and eviction policies following that, and environmental justice. It is my hope that we will then move to what I believe is an organic movement led by the people of Kenosha. And that is to request listening sessions, learn the stories of everybody affected by this event. Bring those stories to the table of our elected leaders at all levels, city, county, state. Share those stories that can lead to policy changes, program changes, and resource allocation. We're going in a direction now that we don't like to go, but we've been asked to do something.
So on behalf of the Wisconsin Conference of Branches, the Dane County branch, which I am president, we bring you greetings with a heavy heart, but with the movement, the passion to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We would be, the NAACP would be derelict in its duty if we did not respect our leadership. And in the city of Kenosha, there's Alderman Anthony Kennedy, who we have not heard from. Alderman Kennedy, will you please take the stage?
The last 72 hours in my town, in my city, has broke my heart. It has not broke my spirit. I have not been feeling God Sunday night. I've not been feeling God Monday night. But let me tell you when I felt God, when I started seeing these acts of kindness in the midst of chaos. Right here we saw the truth exposed. Protesters didn't run down our town. Demonstrators didn't burn down our town. Looters, rioters, white supremacists, agitators, they're the ones who burned down our town. And that lie that the protesters did it was exposed right here on this ground. The truth cannot be held back. The humanity I saw in the midst of chaos, they brought the man from right over there and they ran him across the street, put him in the vehicle and took him into the hospital. My faith in humanity was challenged and tested. I didn't feel God. God would not let this happen. Monday night, Sunday night, he would not let this happen. But it had to happen. So Tuesday night, you saw the outside agitators come to my town who have no investment in building this town. I'm not scared of a protester. I'm not scared of a demonstrator. They are here to hold us accountable. That does not frighten me. The people are here to destroy my town because they have an agenda that has nothing to do with love, that has nothing to do with building capacity. And I learned that phrase, building capacity, from Reverend Olin Arrington at Second Baptist Church. Ask me where that church is at. Ask me where that church is at. It's in the 10th district. It's 2 blocks away from where the man was shot. You tell me I don't care? I am angry, and you're angry, and I get that. You are frustrated, and I'm frustrated. I get that. The difference is, I'm angry, frustrated, and I still have to be productive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all the aldermen. Alderman Bennett. We got George Bennett Jr. Peace in the Streets, a young gentleman who's working on doing some great work to bring about peace in the streets, not only in Kenosha, but they're going to be moving this initiative forward all over our state, I hope. So come right on up and take your time. Let's give it your attention.
My name is Gregory Bennett Jr. and Kenosha's in a dire need for action. Not acting, but action. We've talked and talked and talked. 2 days prior to the shooting, I actually sent Facebook captions, snapshots, screenshots to the captain and the chief prior. And I let them know, hey, this Kenosha Guard, these Ku Klux Klans, these other people are going to be down there and they're going to try to combat peaceful protests. We understand that a curfew is a curfew, but everybody's got to be on one accord. They could have prevented the shooting, and we could have actually set up and combated that whole incident, but we didn't wake up and listen to the city. So at the same time, the police, as they're shooting somebody 7 times, there's 3 officers. As an Army veteran, we have rules of engagement. I have to shout, shove, shoot a warning shot, then I have to shoot the insurgent. So why is it the police being held accountable to the same thing the military is held to? You, as a police officer, should be held accountable just like a soldier at war. You will lock up a private for shooting someone, but won't lock up a captain for shooting someone in the city that you are supposed to be protecting. I know this Saturday the family's going to have a march, August 29th. They're going to have a march starting. And then next Sunday with Father's Initiative and Peace in the Street, we're going to have something where we're going to listen to the people. I know you're tired of being talked to. You want to hear your demands, what laws you want to see changed. And we're going to put paper to pen, and then we're going to start petitioning to get those laws actually in place. Because we're tired of talking to you. We want to hear from you. We want you to know that it's action, not acting. So we're going to hold something at Lincoln and actually hear your voice, feed you, and put pen to paper. We all die. The goal is not to live forever, but to create something that will. And if we don't create unity now for this generation, the next generation won't have a chance. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to take a moment to thank all of the speakers who were here today and all of you who came out to hear the speakers.
The official protest from the family.
I'm going to take a step back and allow the language of the family or Alvin Owens to be heard. Go right ahead.
The official, I need all leaders, community leaders, listen up. The official Justice for Jacob protest starting at 1345 52nd Street. That's at the Regiment Barber Collective or The Collective. It's hosted by the Blake family. They need everyone to be there, peaceful, protesting. They want your support. Kenosha is going to commit to give it to them. All agencies. Non-violent. It is Justice for Jacob, 2 o'clock p.m. Saturday, August 29th. Justice for Jacob, Black Lives Matter, starting at 2 o'clock p.m., 1345 52nd Street, Kenosha, Wisconsin. This is from the Blake family.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Again, I'm going to just say thank you to all of our speakers, all of the community leaders, and the community more than anyone for coming out today to take part in this press conference. Again, the NAACP in Wisconsin, we have a criminal justice reform plan that your senators, those who do not have it, will be getting it today. We're going to hold them accountable for making change in this state. I'm sorry that it had to come to this for us to get that leverage, but God has given us this moment and we're going to take advantage of it. So with your help, we need all of you to step up and stay with us on this because it has to happen. Again, on behalf of my national president, Mr. Derek Johnson, and the entire board of the NAACP, one of the most important things you can do between now and November 3rd is to encourage everyone you know to go to the polls on November 3rd. We have a crisis on our hands. We have a bigot in the White House. We have a bigot in the White House who does not miss any words when it comes to supporting those people who tried to keep my people in slavery. We as African Americans and good people of justice and truth are fighting with African Americans and other brown people to stop those folks from putting us back in chattel slavery because that is their goal. And let's don't ever forget that. No one here should forget what the purpose is for what's happening in this country. You got a man that wants to take over this country, him and his buddy from Russia, and if we allow that to happen, shame on us. Thank you all for being here. And Jesse, we got an announcement to make.
Members of the media, those of you who have been informed about the meeting with Reverend Jackson and the Blake family, we understand that the family has asked us to reschedule, so there will not be a 1:30 meeting with the family in Milwaukee. So if you could help me out, you got press releases from me, you can help me out, spread the word to your other colleagues. We will update you as soon as that is rescheduled. As soon as it's rescheduled, we'll update you. We have your numbers in our phone bank. We have your email addresses, and some of you, we have cell phones. So we'll update you as soon as it is rescheduled. But for right now, it's postponed.
Thank you.
We anticipate a